Just got to get the camera set right. Sorry, I was a little bit late. Oh, I didn't realise the time. And Michelle's, we're having internet problems on the main, so we're on the 4G on the phone, obviously.
But I've got no Wi-Fi yet. So.
Michelle's got nothing. So if we see any comments come through, send them through. Good day. Oh, my eyes are terrible to see all the way over there. How are you all? So today we're going to have a talk about what we're doing next, and I'll just wait for a few people to get in. And I think I'll have my beer. I've got a beer this evening. It's one of my favourites here in Istanbul in Turkey. It's the Bomonti beer. This sort of slightly white. Do you like the sitting area? What does that say, Michelle? Something just flash up on my screen.
I can't help it at all. I'm trying to join you.
It's trying to join.
I'm trying my best.
Have we just got dead internet again on our system?
Connected, but there's no internet.
This is what we have to put up with, guys, here in this area. Just no internet, and without the SIM card. Normally there's a reasonable amount of internet, and Michelle can join me.
But it's not working today. I might have to do a reboot.
You want to go and reboot the router?
I think I'm going to have to.
We're going to reboot. We're going to reboot the router because without it, I'm sat over here like a lemming, and Michelle can't actually see anything you guys are saying. So be patient. She's just climbing up the step ladder to try and reboot the router. I wish our landlords would sort their internet out. I wish they would sort the internet out, and I hope he's watching. I know he thinks it's everybody's fault but theirs, but it is not. We have terrible internet here. So, how are you all? I've got my beer, and if you're saying hello and good days,
shall I say hello?
Come and sit over here for a minute, Michelle.
Hello everyone, just wait for that to
Come
reboot.
And sit over here. Come and sit over here.
Come and join the party. Is anybody saying anything?
I don't know, because you know we've got the cameras. You'll see we've got a wider vision here. So let's see who's in. Let's have a quick look. Hi Rena, how are you? Mert, hello mate. A big thank you. Oh, Byron, how are you, buddy?
Hello Byron. Hello Rena. Hi Mert.
And a big thank you to my good mate Mert, because today we're featuring this live stream is brought to you by Hanuta. Now Mert had been to Germany recently, and I told him this is my favourite chocolate from my childhood, and I haven't had it for years and years and years, and Mert bought me this lovely big box of Hanuta back, and I'm going to get a cup of tea shortly, or a cup of coffee, and enjoy a Hanuta with you. If you haven't had them, and I know there's a lot of people out there tell me this one's better, that one's better, this is the best stuff.
It's the one you like. Let me go make a tea and see how we're doing.
Yeah. Okay. So thank you, Mert. Thank you, buddy. And cheers to you all. I hope you're having a wonderful, wonderful week. And everything's starting to pick up for you all. You know, I made that video the other day. I know it was a little bit negative, but it is the way we're feeling at the moment. And you know, it's been a little bit restrictive. So we're kind of trying to pick ourselves up and cheer up a little bit. Cheers, me dears. I see the cheers.
Okay. Oh, we're rolling, I think. Maybe.
We're rolling. Michelle's in. Rolling, rolling.
I've got pictures. Oh, yes, I've got comments. Look at that.
She's got comments. I've got beautiful Turkish pistachio nuts. I've got my Hanuta right directly from Germany. And if you don't know what Hanuta is, you don't know, you haven't lived till you've had Hanuta. Many years ago, I actually talked about Hanuta on another show, and a lot of you sort of came on, a lot of people came on, not you particularly, but people came on and said, this one's better, this one's better. But this is my childhood. This one, none of the stuff you talk about will ever trigger the memories that Hanuta does.
So Mert says you're welcome for the visit, Hanuta.
Thank you, mate.
Absalom says cheers. Paul Webber says cheers.
Paul, how are you, mate?
And Rena says cheers.
Cheers, Rena.
And the Irish Cat says hello from Ireland. And Paul in Ireland said there's only one place you need to visit, Ireland.
Well, you know, we are taking notes tonight. We are taking notes tonight. and that well could be in our well, no, everything is up for grabs. We're just trying to work out what do we do now. It's just sort of the world is our lobster, as I like to. I don't know if anyone will get that reference.
It's right over there.
The world is your lobster. Don't know if anyone will get that reference.
Let's have a look.
Well, come sit next to me for a little while, Michelle.
Matt says go to Germany, Steve.
Dankeschön, Matt.
And Geo22 says, Mr. Owens, can you live in Istanbul on $2,000 a month budget?
Yes, very easily.
US dollars. And Thailand, Phil says, put names in a hat. Where to go?
Well, we could end up doing something like that, Phil. How are you, mate? Welcome.
And the Irish Celt says, the question is, where do you want to get trapped next?
I know.
That is a problem, isn't
Irish
it?
Celt. So Michelle's going to come over this side. It means she's down there reading. Oh, and then she's just arrived. A few seconds later.
Want to pop it out so you can't see it?
Yeah, pop it out so I can't see
like
myself.
see.
I hate seeing that sort of lag.
Okay. And Paul and Ireland said that there used to be my obster. I guess it's my lobster now. Used to be maybe my oyster. Did I say that? Getting confused.
No, you said obster.
Obster. I thought I did. Thought it didn't sound right.
Who said that?
Paul in Ireland.
Paul, it's an old reference. You might not get it. If anyone gets it, they get to. I'll share a pistachio with you.
Oh, that's so kind. Avshalom said, "World is your oyster. Want lobster? Come to Maine." That would be nice.
There is a reason why I say that lovely saying, "The world is my lobster," and it's a humorous reference to cultural reference. So, cheers, me dears. So, we're really at the stage where we need to decide what we're going to do next. And we've had talks with people in other parts of the channel where you might not see all the time because you're not obviously looking at the comments we get on the many other hundreds of videos that we have, or even the last dozen or so videos. We get comments come through from people, and we take them all, fairly seriously. We listen to them, invitations to here, invitations to there. But we're at the stage now where we do have to decide what we can do. And do me a favour.
What do you need now? Close the windows. It's very noisy.
Mert, can you tell them to shut up out there, man?
The neighbourhood's coming to life.
We've got a big party outside the window, and I foolishly just opened the window. I can't get to it because there's a pile of stuff beside me. So Michelle's doing it for me. Mert, get down there.
Eleni S says, Greece has done well in keeping COVID under control. We would love to have you.
You know, Greece is a definite option,
Yes.
being so close to us. One of the problems we're having at the moment is where can we go? So if you suggest a place like Greece, and think about, whether Greece are accepting people from Turkey. I don't think they are at the moment, but if they are, I mean, that's a good thing. I think they might be soon.
Yeah. It's not an issue with the passport. I think it's more an issue of where we're coming from, isn't it? So, I think that's how they look at it, but who knows?
Some places are not letting people in from Turkey, or the ones that are putting them under quarantine. And we don't want to leave here and spend another 2 weeks in a lockdown quarantine anywhere. So we're kind of just deciding, but it's not just where to go, it's what to do. It's a sound good, by the way. I've got a little shotgun mic on top of the phone at the moment, so if someone could just let me know the sound is coming through loud and clear, and you can hear me munching on the pistachios.
So Elaine says, research non-tourist islands, best prices, more beautiful. And Thailand Phil says the sound is good. Thank you.
Thank you, Phil. So it's not just where we go, it's what we do. We talked about going on the Camino, the walk of the Camino. We're thinking that's too hot at the moment. It's going to be at least 2 months before we can do it, maybe even 3. We have talked about so many things over the years, settling down somewhere, setting up a Steve's Kitchen studio, and doing food trips around the world, getting a boat, going sailing on rivers, getting a van and doing the van life thing, getting some bikes and cycling around the world,
Getting some motorbikes.
getting
A
a
motorbike.
motorbike and touring on a motorbike. So it's tricky. Just where would you guys like to see? And I don't know, what are we trying to say?
I don't know.
We want some ideas.
We do. We do. We're going a bit round and round in circles as to what we can do, going over all of our ideas for many years. Tim Oval says somewhere you won't get locked into.
I mean, Ireland appeals to me.
Mm.
Greece appeals to me. Remaining in Turkey appeals to me.
So Eleni said, loved your Aussie trip through the bush.
That's something we thought about. Who said that? Eleni?
Eleni, who all said about
Eleni?
going to Greece.
Eleni, we thought about going back to Australia, maybe not now, but maybe in about 4 or 5 months' time, and building our own little RV and touring Australia at a more leisurely sort of pace. I'm thinking something like a food RV, you know, like a kitchen on wheels or something like this.
So Tim says, Iowa, USA, my home.
We talked just today
We
about going to the US and actually doing a year or so in the US, Mexico and Canada, maybe even down to South America.
Paul Webber says, have you been to all 7 continents?
No.
No.
No, we haven't, Paul.
There's so many places we could go and we would like to go.
We do like to sort of visit places at a leisurely sort of pace.
I think it would take us quite a while to do all the places we want to go to.
So we're not, I know a lot of YouTubers love to rush from place to place and, you know, do sort of hundreds of countries in short periods of time, but Michelle and I would rather go to sort of, you know, a handful of countries in a much, you know, I'd rather spend 6 months in one country and 6 months in another country, or 3 months, say.
So the Irish Cat said, we just want to see you safe and happy. How about Seattle?
Seattle's nice, we've been there.
Rena says, enjoying this chat. I'm glad you're sitting together. Hi, Michelle. Hi, Rena.
Thank you, Rena.
And Paul in Ireland says,
I'm
you're
cross-legged, Rena,
yeah,
sat here like a...
He's relaxing.
I'm meditating.
Paul in Ireland says, your options for free movement are unfortunately very restricted, but Ireland is coming out of lockdown.
Yeah, how is Ireland? I'd love to go to Ireland.
Yes, yes. I've never been to Ireland.
We've always talked about it, haven't we? Many times talked about going to Ireland. Ireland, to me, it's sort of like, it's the crack of Ireland, you know, you hear about it, the crack. I think the Irish are a little bit like the Australians, got a lot of sort of light-heartedness, a bit sort of joie de vivre, the way of life, you know.
I mean, that is the thing. A lot the countries are coming out of lockdown and they're coming out quickly, but it's trying to plan things.
Cheers, everyone.
Cheers. I've got my
Where's
water
yours?
somewhere. It's down. Cheers. I could put it in a glass.
We had lemonade earlier on. Did you finish it?
I drank it.
Oh.
But yes, they're saying, oh, you know,
That's another thing we've got to thank Mert for. That lemonade.
Yes.
Turku Lemonata.
Yes.
Mert introduced us to this lovely lemonade, which Michelle has finished. But it comes in a glass. This is the one. Yeah.
So you have finished it.
So this is Turku Lemonata. It's a glass bottle. It's like almost a little bit like an old-fashioned lemonade. And it's one of probably your favourite drinks along with the Iran at the moment.
Yeah, I like that one. So Rainer says...
And the ginger beer.
Oh yes, the ginger beer in the Galata Tower bottle.
Yes.
I don't think I've got one of those.
We've been drinking a bit of that lately, even with my good buddy Mert.
So Raina says, tour around Turkey till Greece opens up the border with Turkey.
Who said that?
Raina.
Raina it's probably our most obvious option at the moment, except for we have to get out of Turkey because the government have basically said bugger off. So we do have to leave and come back in. If we want to be here now in Turkey, we have to leave and come back, and soon. Not immediately. It's not impending, but it's getting there.
So the Irish Cat said the pub and restaurant protocols in Ireland are ridiculous. Not much crack. Google it.
I think yes. I don't want to really go somewhere at the moment where we're going to have more issues, and that's why something like the Camino always appealed to us, because we'd literally be isolated from the rest of the world and just walking and just enjoying sort of splendid isolation.
But we have 99% decided that we're not. It's too hot for the Camino, and it's not going to happen until at least September.
Yeah,
that's 99%.
Let me put those nuts over there, because I remember watching a little bit of a live stream back the other day when I was eating nuts, and I thought, God,
pick.
that looks like I'm picking endlessly. So let me put them away for the moment.
So Eleni says, go to the Greek side of Cyprus.
Mm-hmm.
And
we'll make some notes. Open the document up that we had, Michelle. We're just going to make some notes as we go along so we can remember, because Cyprus is not far from us, and that's a beautiful place I've always wanted to go to. So I'm going to have a Hanuta. Michelle's not, because she's got Mert bought her some lovely chocolate.
Very nice chocolate. Yes, I've had a piece.
And she's had Hanuta, and she's not having any more. I don't care what you say. You can bite me all you like. She's not having any more of my Hanuta.
Hanuta's fine.
She's,
I don't love it like he does, so he might as well have it. You see?
So this is a Hanuta, a Hanuta. Now they're different than when I was a slip of a lad. Can you say slip of a lad?
Yeah.
They used to be like in a foil wrapping, and when you used to peel the foil off, the chocolate used to stick to the edge of the foil, and then you sort of lick the chocolate off the foil. Now they come in a much more practical little sachet, and what they are basically is almost like a hazelnut filled Nutella, with lots of little bits of hazelnut in the chocolate. It's more like a chocolate than a Nutella. I'll show you. Look. So that's the packet. Sadly, there's none of the edge of the wafer biscuit used to come right to the edge and squeeze out the edge of the biscuit, and it used to stick to the packaging. Anyone knows that. Now they've kind of cleaned it up, but they possibly have made it a little bit thicker. And it's got this chocolate inside, and the chocolate has loads of little crackly bits of hazelnut in it, and just a plain wafer. But they're so delicious. And when I was a kid, we would eat the chocolate off the side. You go around the edge and take all the chocolate off. But you we talk about food that actually, we talked about this a few days ago actually with Mert. I think food that is all about memories, food that you love, wines that you love, beers that you love. It's all about memories, and I have no fond memories at all from my childhood or even from my adult life of McDonald's. I don't like McDonald's food. I've never liked it. It never has given me any pleasure whatsoever. So therefore, I don't long to go to McDonald's. I'll go there out of curiosity, but I never enjoy it. But a lot of youngsters, they're clever with the Happy Meals, and they create memories, and McDonald's are very good at this. They create memories so that when kids get older, they will kind of remember the good things about that sort of food. So food is all about memories, and this little biscuit here was a big part of my childhood, and I loved it. So I've got myself the hot cup of tea just so I can have the Hanuta. Here goes.
Eleni says, I'm on Amazon searching for Hanuta. The Irish Celt says, no chocolate in my place, this is torture.
It's the smell of sort of toasted walnuts, not walnuts, hazelnuts, with almost a sort of praline, but not praline, because if you don't like praline, it wouldn't make a difference. It's more like if you've got a chocolate ganache, a really good quality, like the one that we make on Steve's Kitchen, and it goes a little bit hard, so it started maybe to dehydrate a bit, almost turn back to a chocolate. So it's almost like a very dense chocolate ganache with little bits of toasted hazelnuts in it, and then a slightly
You're torturing the audience.
slightly malted. This is a malted wafer.
You like those, don't you?
Mm.
So Thailand Phil said Canada was great, Calgary and Alberta.
Okay.
Heyday says Cyprus is beautiful.
Never been to Cyprus,
no.
never been to Canada.
We were talking about Canada earlier, weren't we?
Mm.
Paul in Ireland says the pubs, restaurants are coming out of lockdown for hospitality, amazing food, culture and breathtaking scenery, Ireland. Raina says Cyprus or Bulgaria as a transition sounds good. We've looked at Bulgaria as well, haven't we? We've looked at everywhere.
We're not sure if we can get into Cyprus or Bulgaria, but we'll put them on the list.
Mm-hmm.
We probably can get into Greece, but if we went down to, say, Izmir and then crossed over into Greece, we only get onto one of the islands.
Yeah.
I'm not sure the name of the island.
Um,
And then there's a number of sort of journeys you have to do to get into Greece itself. Another possible option would be to throw a complete curveball and go into, you know, forget about the Camino for the time being and maybe go walking in the southern areas of Germany. Just a minute.
I'll let him check that one out.
Michelle will talk.
I will. So what else? Thailand Phil says, how about Malta? That's another place we have considered. And yes, Paul, I love the Nutella Terran share bread. One of my favourites, that one. He's looking out the window. What's up?
What's that? Go down.
You want me to go down?
Yeah.
Okay.
My neighbour is rocking up, and I think he's. You know what I think he's done? I think he's watching the live stream, and he's gone out and bought us some lemonade. Mert, thank you. It's not for me. It's not for you, he said.
It's not for you.
Has he got lemonade?
He says, how can you have a live stream and not have lemonade?
She did have lemonade, but she drunk it.
It was only a little bit.
Oh, that's so kind of Mert. Mert is a real gentleman. I'll tell him when he's out of his. What a lovely guy.
Yeah.
This, by the way, is lovely lemonade. He's gone out and got a lovely cold bottle for Michelle. That's how nice the people are here. This is one of the reasons we don't want to leave Turkey or Istanbul for that matter. But it is time, it is getting time for us to get on a new adventure. That's so kind of him, because I thought we'd had our drinks organised. I didn't realise you'd finished that earlier. So we're good.
We're good.
I'm gonna, in about 5 minutes, I'm gonna say thank you to Mert. It'll take him 5 minutes to get back to his apartment. How nice is that?
See, got good neighbours.
So, look at the little, on the back of Michelle's MacBook, she has a little Volkswagen.
My little Volkswagen matches my dress, look.
So there it is.
Cheers, Mert.
That is, it's like a cloudy lemonade. It's not overly sweet, but it's nice and tart.
Yes, it's good.
Bit like your dress.
I'm all coordinated.
Oh man, that is amazing. How crazy. Mert should have come up actually. He could have been in our live stream.
Been. Oh, disconnected.
Thank you very much. You see how interactive that is? How crazy is this world when when we get. He said, what did he say? You can't have the live stream if Michelle hasn't got a drink. Or something.
Yes. He said, how can you do a live stream without me having a drink?
I don't mind.
And it's not for you.
And yeah, I know. I heard that. There we go.
I'm just going to go over here and try and reconnect.
Okay. So Michelle will look at the comments again in a minute and see if there's any other suggestions. Bulgaria is just we for those of you who look at your Google Maps, you'll see Bulgaria is just above us. Greece is just off, sort of below us. You know, they're both within maybe a few hours of driving, or maybe several hours if you have to cross the borders on buses and things. Cyprus is again just off of the border here with Turkey. So
both places like Cyprus and Malta, they're islands again, aren't they? So it's getting
yeah.
an island where we try and maybe to get.
But we'll look into them. Now you've said them. Canada appeals, Ireland appeals, Germany appeals. Mert, thank you very much. Germany would be nice because we could maybe go into walking. We could walk some routes, maybe in the Schwarzwald, in the Black Forest, or in different parts of Germany. There's some wonderful, and it won't be quite as hot as Spain. Michelle is back.
Maybe.
So she's coming back over, and let me hold that while you sit down because you've got your drink.
Right, I'm good.
You good?
I'm good. Okay.
Mert, thank you very much, man. That was a very nice surprise.
Elnie said, did you just call Michelle a tart?
No, she just said it was
a little tart.
A little tart, and I said a bit like your dress because she said, "Don't make me defend it all."
Yes, we do have some good people. Turkish people are very warm and generous.
Yes.
And Mert is very good. Mert says Prost.
Prost, my friend, and we can cha-ching now.
Cha-ching, there we go.
Proper like.
And Mert says thanks all. So the Irish Celts had lots of migrants on Samos last I heard. Not sure how it is now. That's a Greek island.
That is an issue, but we found most of the migrants to be very friendly people. I know there's an issue in some of these areas with people coming in from different parts of the world, but we don't tend to give that a lot of thought. It's not our problem. I'm not sort of like saying it's not a problem, but it's not our problem.
No, I think it stopped again. This is so bad. Oh.
Is it worth you just going to the video of mine and?
No, it's okay. It's going in. Yeah.
So
Matt says tomorrow we have a trip to Asia.
Tomorrow we're going to Asia. Tomorrow we are going to go to Kadikoy, which is going to be a lot of fun. The weather today's been really hot, like
and it's going to be hot again tomorrow.
30 to 31 degrees Celsius. I think that's about in the late 80s, early 90 degrees Fahrenheit. So it's been pretty warm today. Tomorrow we're going to go across to Kadikoy, probably in the later part of the day so that the sun's not so fierce, and we're going to explore that part of Asia. We've still got things that we're doing here. We've got some good videos coming for you that won't be necessarily just talking about the situation here in Turkey, but more just getting away from that and trying to get back into the groove.
It says awesome because we're going to over the other side.
Yes.
Make sure you stop by Victor Levy. You'll love it.
We will make a note.
Oh, it's gone. Hang on.
Michelle's lost her notes.
Oh dear.
So who else is in, Michelle? Who can we say hello to?
Okay, who can we say hello
I've got
to?
a bit of nuts.
So Kunia, Med, Irish Celt, Hader,
Hader, hello, Irish Celt.
Yep.
I think we've said
Eleni, Rena.
Eleni, Rena.
Paul in Ireland. Aisha says yo. Paul's in. Thailand. Phil's in.
Hayden, Eleni, Rini? You're going a little
Rena.
fast for me.
Raina.
Just
Tim
say,
Oval.
just say hello if we've missed you. Go 22. You can say hello if we missed you. Baron Jan, hi. How are you? Sinet. I'm not sure if I've got that right. Thank you, mate. How are you? Mert, who's that? Mert, never heard of him. He's in.
Naughty.
Rania, good day. How are you? Baron, I've said hello. Right. So if anyone we haven't said hello to, say hello.
Hello. Says, Raina says, have you walked at Bebek and Arnavutkoi Sahil? Breathtaking Bosphorus scenery.
Just copy and paste those ones because you can't pronounce them. You're making a right balls up of
As
it.
I do every time.
That's one of the hardest languages I think I've come across is the Turkish language. It's funny because some of the words you learn, like when you meet people, you say maraba, maraba. It's very easy when you've learnt the words, but actually when you're learning the words, teşekkürler, derim, thank you very much, sort of thing. Counting, bir, içi, uç. It's kind of like when you first try to learn these words, it's really hard.
Yeah, they don't
but
go in,
once
do
they're
they?
in,
Yeah.
they're not bad. But actually, every time people try to, it's the way also the sounds of the letters. A lot of the letters have they look like our S might sound like a ch sound, or the C with a little mark on it might be a sh, sort of like a sh sort of sound. So it's kind of it's interesting. It's an interesting language, very interesting.
Eleni says your friend Byron is in. Yes, we said hello to Byron at the beginning.
But I saw Byron at the beginning, but I haven't seen Byron. Are you in now, Byron? Buddy, are you there, mate? I said hello to Byron because I saw him comment earlier before the show had started, but I don't know if you're in. If you're in, Byron, say hello, mate. Haven't spoken to you directly in a live stream for a long time.
Anybody else who hasn't said hello, you can always say hello.
So, and any other suggestions? If you think that we should, even if you want to say go back and do Steve's Kitchen in the kitchen or whatever, just anything you feel that we should do. We'd just like some ideas, and we'll make a note of them and we'll brainstorm them. At the moment, it's looking like we have to leave Turkey within the next sort of couple of weeks, and we can come back into Turkey and do more exploring, or we can go somewhere else. That's sort of, the options open to us.
As I say, things are changing all the time, so we come up with an idea, we can't work on it, and then suddenly it changes. So.
I mean, do you like the idea of? You see, we've talked about doing van life years ago. We actually did van life before YouTube existed, and we did a year or so of touring in a van around Europe.
So Paul Webber says, I really like the food truck idea. If you do it in the States, I will probably end up being your top customer.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't like I'm not a food truck, Paul. I'm not going to go around selling stuff out of a food truck. More like what I was thinking. What I would do, Paul, is I don't know if you're in the US, you won't remember there was a Cook on the Wild Side done by Hugh Fernley Whittingstall some years ago, where he had a Land Rover that had been converted into sort of like a mobile kitchen. Now, I don't mean a mobile kitchen like selling to people hot dogs and deep fried Oreos and stuff like that, but it was a kitchen, so he could cook in it. He could cook scrambled egg on toast, but not for 20 people. He could do it for himself. And it was pretty rudimentary. It wasn't very well done in many ways, and it was well done in other ways. But the way I've sometimes thought is it's quite nice to have a mobile kitchen that we can cook stuff in and just meet people. Now, I know a lot of you are saying, yeah, this is a great idea, but the practicality of doing it and the talking about it's easy, doing it's a lot harder. But the idea would be sort of rocking up to places, a vineyard and taking grapes and maybe using them in ingredients, maybe with local local foods and things, and you know, or you know, going to a dairy and getting their cream and cheese and sort of using them to cook with, maybe for a few sort of local guests. But I don't think I'd be doing. I don't think I've got it in me, Paul, to go around sort of working as hard as those guys do in those food trucks. And where was it? The great food trucks. That was in Seattle or Portland.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
Seattle, isn't it? I think it was.
Up in that part of the US, there's a lot of nice food trucks, particularly in Portland, Seattle, um, all over the US. Actually, there's some great places. If you get off the interstates and drive on the minor roads, there's some good food.
And I think if we went around as a food truck in the US, they might think we're working.
Yes, yeah. If we rock up, yes, that's a good point.
Because we're technically tourists.
Yes, we're tourists, Paul. We wouldn't be there on a working permit, so we rock up with a great big sort of flap on the side of a truck selling burgers and things. We'd be in trouble. It's like, are you here working? No, we're cooking these burgers.
It was Paul's idea.
Paul keeps buying them. He won't go away. And we're not charging him for them. They're all free. We're not making any profit.
So Dwayne says hi.
G'day, Dwayne. How are you, mate?
So the Irish Celt says, when the mind is freed from the burden of small thoughts, there is more time available for the accomplishment of worthwhile things.
I just had a Zen moment.
There you go. That saved you thinking about it, didn't it? It just...
That'd be rude.
I wasn't.
It's having a go at me now. She just thinks I can't think for myself. No, you're right. I mean, this is the, you know.
Paul says he'll cover for you.
Yeah.
And Dwayne says, my late uncle once told me, talking is one thing, but when it comes down to doing it, it's another thing.
I know. You should have told him to turn up earlier. I had an uncle that was always late once. He's just pain in the backside, wasn't he?
Stop it. And Dwayne says, we have great food trucks in Edmonton.
Edmonton, Ontario?
Happy Canada Day, because it's the first.
Happy Canada Day. Anyone
July.
in from Canada? Anyone in from Canada? Happy Canada Day.
There you go.
No, I don't. I'm saying Edmonton, Ontario, but I'm not sure now.
Isn't it Calgary?
Don't
Canada.
Oh dear. Mert, what did you put in a lemon juice? Something got some vodka in it or something. She's gone.
No, I'm behaving.
Wow, it's warm tonight.
It is.
Very warm. Been 30 degrees plus all day.
I'm just going to go and turn that down.
So, she's abandoned me.
I have, but it's cold when I sit here.
We're going to actually have the air conditioning on tonight and just sort of cool the place down a little bit.
So Bonnie says I made it.
Good day, Bonnie. How are you? No, come on, let's be serious.
Yes.
I mean, Irish Celt said, it is all about actually, what was I thinking the other day? It's a state of mind, really. Everything's a state of mind, and we're all a little bit sort of stressed. Maybe I think you'll all understand that everybody's a little bit stressed. Michelle and I often look as if we're not, but it has been a little tough, and it's all a state of mind, really. It's all sort of picking up and just getting yourself focused into doing good things and getting on and living a little bit outside the box. So yes.
We'll get there. So BM Chang over says, can we see Michelle cook?
Maybe on occasion.
Occasionally.
She's not as good a cook as me, though.
Of course not.
So what do you want?
Just basic cooking for me?
No, you're not. You're a good cook. You're a good cook. That's nonsense. We both love cooking, but I love talking. So it's a little bit different, you know. You have. I'm more extrovert than Michelle, and she's getting there. But you have to be, you know, don't ask too much because it's
I'm
not
trying.
It's not her. She's very trying.
Let me see. I gave you that one.
I know you did. Thank you. I saw you hand it to me.
So Edmonton is a North London suburb in England. Edmonton is a city in Alberta where I live. And Edmonton is also
Alberta.
a city in Kentucky.
Yes.
There you go. So did we say Alberta?
No. No. Which Edmonton are you?
In Alberta, he said.
Oh, that's
where
right.
I live. You see?
Not doing too well tonight.
We're
am I?
not, are we?
The US is always appeals to us as well, doesn't
Yeah,
it?
it does. Well, you know, anywhere in North America, Canada, we said we wanted to do Canada, US, Mexico.
And funny enough, Ben, I don't think Ben's in tonight, is he?
No, I haven't seen Ben.
Haven't seen Ben.
No.
But Ben actually said to me a little while ago, would you think about going to Sweden based on the fact Sweden was relevant to the current situation? But actually, there's some beautiful walks in Scandinavia, and I've been looking online at some of the beautiful sort of walks in the fields and things, and that would appeal to me as well. And you can really only do those sort of walks in the summer months, so that's a possibility. But the problem is they're all closed, you know, they're all shut down.
Yeah.
So you come up with these great ideas and you think this is what we can do, and then you look and you can't go there, and it's frustrating because we really have been stuck now for 4 months in this very small apartment with almost very restricted travel, and we've been fairly strong throughout it all, but it does get a little tiresome.
Yeah, I mean, we're not big at planning. We do like to plan a few things. We do things a little bit on the spur of the moment, but we can't be spontaneous because we've got to wait for things to open up. So, yeah.
I'm eating these
You're
lovely.
You're back on your nuts again. Bonnie says if Hubs is willing to cook, let him cook.
Absolutely. We pretty much
agrees.
pretty much both like cooking.
We do. When the children were small, we did all the cooking because you were out, you know, doing the working bit.
Not always though.
No.
We've always both cooked. We both love to cook, and we both love to experiment with different foods, but we neither one of us sort of take up that exact role as the person. I think if we're experimenting with food, it tends to be me.
Yes, you like to experiment more. There's just a big comment here. I've got to move that out of the way. So Dwayne says, if you remember the British rock band Procol Harum, they made Edmonton.
Procol Harum, yeah.
Yes, they made Edmonton, Alberta famous by recording a live album with the Edmonton Symphony Orchestra in 1971.
Okay. The name's familiar. I'm just.
As he said, it said a bit earlier, John Peter Pruden was an early English explorer who gave Edmonton, Alberta, its name.
John
Peter Pruden.
Why did they call it Edmonton then?
Well, he probably came from Edmonton in England.
Okay.
You know what they were like, those explorers, if they came from an area, didn't they? They quite often would say, oh, I'm going to call this the same.
I'm going to call this Skegness.
Yeah. There's probably a few Skegnesses around the world.
There's a lot of places in Australia that are named after small British towns.
Yeah.
If you go up and down the coast of Australia, you'll come across all sorts of little towns like Scarborough and Exmouth, and so there's lots of traditional old English and Scottish and Welsh, I'm sure as well, towns. So, and you do see that a lot up in New England and around the northern states of the US as well. You see a lot of names. And there's even a London in Canada as well, isn't there?
Yes.
And also Melbourne in Australia. Melbourne in
the US.
In the US.
I think there's a London in the US as well.
Okay.
Okay, so this is another one with lots of
Cheers.
names. Do you want to read them out? Because I can't.
No, if they're the names from the suggested Turkish names.
No, well, it's not. It says go to this place, which I think is in Greece, and climb up the Sinari and enjoy some live bouzouki, if they still do that stuff.
If they still do that stuff. Look, it's if we decide to stay in Turkey, then we definitely will be looking at doing more touring around Turkey.
But I think this is Greece. I don't think it'll work.
Anyway,
Bruno from Miami says, hello people.
Hey, moms, how are you?
Whiter shade
Hey,
of
Mom.
pale was a Procol Harum. I vote for Greece. Island hopping.
I don't know if I can jump that far.
It's not very far from down at Izmir.
I know, but
30 minutes on a boat.
island hopping is something that we could do, but I have to take a big run up.
And you'd have to pull me across too.
Oh, God. Can you imagine? Come on, jump, jump. No, jump. I'll catch you.
Yes, it was Greece that they were talking about earlier, not Turkey. I thought it was. Colin Hay was born in Scotland. He was in the Australian group Men at Work. They did the song Down Under. We know that one.
So we sing it.
No, I'm not singing.
Right, last night I won't.
Yeah,
I'm
put
sorry,
them-
they're
put them
lovely.
nuts away.
Put them away.
Yes, you said that half an hour ago.
So,
So,
any other thoughts? I mean, we talked for many years about getting a narrowboat or something like that. You know, it would be. Oh, I just saw a
yes, that's from Paul.
orange flash. Paul, thank you very much.
Have you been to Oktoberfest in Munich? Wondering if it's worth it, if it is crowded and a hassle.
No, it is
and
crowded. It
You're
is
better off
crowded.
going to local beer halls.
No, it is crowded, but it's good. I haven't been. I've been to Munich before, Paul. But what do you think, mate? Are you there?
Well, he just said yes because Ben just said hello and Mert just said Ben, you're late.
Ben, you're late.
And
you
Ben
missed-
says
we're
I'm
talk-
never late.
We were talking about Sweden just now, Ben.
Yeah.
Oktoberfest.
We were talking about you, Ben.
We were talking about you, Ben. What do you like? But Ben, don't ban Mert, even if he's rude. He's been lovely today.
Yes.
He actually came and delivered lemonade to Michelle.
Because I didn't have a drink and he came and delivered
He
it.
delivered lemonade, and he bought me Hanuta from Germany because he's one of the few people that have actually travelled outside of
Yes.
Turkey in the last sort of
He went
7
and
years.
he came back.
Went and came back, which is quite a surprise, much to my disappointment.
Yeah, Mert says go to
Forgive him.
Germany and enjoy it.
You know,
So Oktoberfest would be good, you reckon, in Munich?
I'm going to have another Hanuta, which
Doing
is
it again. And Ben says yes, go to Germany. I lived there for some years.
Oktoberfest, even in Munich, would be fantastic fun. I suspect one of the problems with going to Oktoberfest in Munich would be the cost. You know, hotel cost would be very high because there's a massive influx. And mind you, this year there won't be anybody there.
We
It's just
cancel
like
it.
you and some Fräulein in a sort of like a busty blouse, wearing a mask and sort of serving you beer with a long pole.
So Mert said yes, Munich is awesome. We've been to Munich, haven't we?
Yeah, we've been to Munich. I've been to Munich a few times, and it's a lovely, lovely city. And it is the heart of Oktoberfest, but it is not the only Oktoberfest. I mean, Germany has the Oktoberfest sort of celebrations go on throughout Germany. I think they're particularly fun in the northern sort of cities, the Bavarian cities, maybe the Schwarzwald, Bavarian. But you don't have to be in Munich, but you probably should be. If you've made the effort to go to Germany and you're there for Oktoberfest, you probably should go to Munich because I think there are so many thousands of venues that you can rock up to and enjoy Oktoberfest. It would be a once in a lifetime. I think it's one of those bucket list things a lot of people would like to do. Is that a guy thing, by the way? Ladies, is that a guy thing?
I probably might enjoy it.
You'd enjoy it.
I'd
yeah.
enjoy it. I mean, I don't drink
We've
the
done,
beer.
we,
but
no,
it's-
but
it's-
the
I like-
atmosphere
yeah.
is great, and the you know, that great sort of German sort of songs and the sort of, you know, the music. It's just a good vibe. I'd liken to it to Americans who could never imagine Oktoberfest. It has that same sort of atmosphere of a good ball game. You know, if you go to a really good, and I don't necessarily mean the big sort of major league ball games, but good county baseball games where they got the barbecue going, and they got, you know, the drinks are in the big sort of tubs of ice, and you sort of you drag your drinks out, and it's got that same sort of atmosphere to me anyway. So yes, I would do it, Paul. I would do it, and I would probably go book in advance so that you know that you've got the accommodation completely sorted out, and also book some of the venues in advance because it can get really crazy around the season. But also maybe allow yourself enough time to go to some of the smaller towns, some of the smaller
Well, that's what Ben was saying.
towns around.
You speak enough German, Steve, to enjoy the rural, less busy places in Germany.
Yeah.
Avoid the busy cities. Met says that the best for you will be Frickenhausen. But then he says he's kidding. Go to Haltem am See.
Haltem am See is near Munster, Munsterland, which is, there are lots of these beautiful inland, because Germany really is not famous for its beaches. There's loads of actually wonderful inland waterways in Germany which have beaches that are really well organized, as only the Germans can do. I'm starting to talk myself into Germany, aren't I?
You are. Well, let's just go back up here. Dwayne says, would you go to the Ukraine or to Poland?
Yes. Yes.
That down.
I think it would be probably easier in some ways to go to maybe Croatia or maybe the Czech Republic at the moment. I think these would be the countries that might be easiest for us to get into. But we'll make a note to Ukraine. Poland, I don't know. I think Poland is a big step at the moment. It's a long way up. What?
But Ben just said, Mert, he just insulted our great German beaches, ban Steve.
Great German beaches.
And Ben also asked earlier on, so are you going to Sweden then? If you'd have come in earlier, you'd have heard.
I don't. It's all about at the moment where I'm looking for suggestions where we can go, or where you would like us to go, and keep it nice. And places then we need to research, or you can do it while you're talking to us. Can we go?
Sweden, I think we can't go.
Now remember that at the moment, because we are not in Europe, we are in Turkey, and there are some restrictions. Some countries are not letting people in from outside of Europe. So if you're travelling, even if the borders are opening up between European countries, they may not let people in who are travelling from outside. So unfortunately, we lucked out a little bit that we're about, we're literally joined onto the European continent.
Well, we're technically on the European side of Istanbul,
right,
but we're not in Europe.
Another thing, I would like to go somewhere that isn't maybe the least affected. And Mert told me he's just been to Germany actually for a week, and he said there's a lot less paranoia and sort of mask wearing. And actually, if anyone mentions mask wearing, I'm going to ban them myself. But as much normality as possible. Hanuta. Ben, have you ever had Hanuta? Do you remember them? And don't tell me those other white chocolatey things are any better. They're better than Hanuta. I love these.
He says you can definitely get to the UK as you're British citizens, but UK government will make you quarantine for 14 days. I doubt the air bridges will include Turkey, and that is the issue. We don't really want to go anywhere where we have to quarantine for 14 days or 7 days or however many days they decide. So it would be nice if we can go to somewhere that will let us in. Just say, yes, you're all right, we like you, you can stay.
Now, technically, we also are travelling on Australian passports, although we do have British heritage, so we could take advantage of that. I suppose we do have that advantage. But, so bear that in mind also. We were lucky enough, Michelle and I, that we can travel on our joint passports. Yes. We do have both options there.
Jasper Jones says hi.
Good day, Jasper Jones.
And Mert said, Steve, you didn't lick it.
I am licking it, Mert.
And Margie says hi.
Hello, Margie.
She was a bit late, just finished watching the footy. I don't know. And said you should go to Rottenburg in northern Bavaria.
Bavaria is very beautiful. I have been through a lot of Bavaria before. I like it. A lot of people suggesting Germany.
Yeah, maybe because we're talking about it.
Maybe.
Rune over Miami says, well, then can you cross into northern Cyprus, then go to southern side? Have no idea if, and then you must have pressed the enter.
Mom's, finish that sentence. We put Cyprus on the list. I'm going to have a look at it. We'll research it a bit more and take a look at that. It's a definite possibility.
Okay, so I have no idea if one side of Cyprus allows pass into the other. Yes, I don't know whether you can do that. But we have to have a little look-see. So Ben was asking,
Hanuta.
So you don't need to quarantine in Germany?
Okay. That's a complicated... Look at the chocolate in there. I'm starting to run out of Hanuta now.
And so Ben says, yeah, if you don't need to quarantine in Germany, Steve, go there.
I can say, all right, I don't think Mert will mind me saying, but Mert actually has German citizenship, and that's the reason he could go to Germany without any restrictions. We could not, and I don't know if that's the case at the moment. So even actually, I think Mert, when he went to Germany, only just arrived in time to skip what they've introduced a quarantine, I think, even for returning German citizens in some cities. So everywhere you're saying sounds great. Ireland sounds great. The US, Canada, Bulgaria, Poland, Czech Republic, I think I said, Greece.
Ireland, Greece.
Everywhere sounds good, but we need to now look at those places and see what the options are, and yeah, it's interesting. We need something to sort of kickstart our heads, really.
Yeah, Ben says too many choices. Well, there are a lot of choices, Ben, but actually when you look into it, it's actually quite restricted as to where we can go. So that's the problem we're having.
That's lovely.
You enjoyed that? So Malika says, please, back to your cooking content. Hee hee.
I accept that challenge also. There will come a time where we travel a little bit less, maybe less frequently, and we might base ourselves somewhere and do a lot more cooking. But at the moment, it's not where we're at, and it can't suddenly happen. So be patient on that. We're very aware, but we're trying to sort of rebuild our genre in a way and take along the great people that we're taking along now. There's an element of if just staying in that cooking niche can become a little bit dull for us as creator, or as me as a creator. It can become a little bit dull, and I do know you'll remember some very big channels in the past that some of them are still going, and you'll look at them and they seem to be almost in autopilot. You know, Food Wishes and channels like this have almost become, you know, passe. They're churning out the same old stuff, and you know that their hearts are not in it anymore. Some of the very big channels have lost all interest in what they do, and we wanted to get out of it before that became an issue. And it wasn't really to stop doing what we did because we were bored of it, because I still love doing and sharing my food and cooking with you, but we're trying to spice it up and give a broader... We're trying to look at our channel more as a sort of content creating channel, and whether or not it falls just in one niche, it can change.
It can. So Paul said, I wouldn't mind seeing Steve cook a sour braten. And Ben said, I hope you continue doing your live streams even if you get back into cooking.
Thanks, Ben. I'm glad you like the live streams, because I was very surprised at first that anybody even would watch them, but I'm glad that there's a sort of core of people that seem to like the live streams, and they get a lot of views after they've gone up, which is always nice to see, and we get lots of good comments coming in later over a period of a week or so. So that's always good, and I think we will internet permitting, basically, I'm trying to sort of think of countries we can go to if we leave Turkey, where we might get internet that's faster than a snail, because it has been a bit frustrating. Although, you know, we do have the SIM card here, so we can keep topping up on the SIM card, but it does get expensive. You've got to keep buying SIM cards to upload stuff, because it might seem 20 gigabytes might seem like a lot of data to some people, but when you're doing uploads that can be sort of 4 to 5 gigabytes a time, if you haven't got to do many of those to be churning through your data and data. I don't know what I say anymore.
That's
And
been the hardest thing, is actually getting the
Yeah.
regular videos uploaded, and then if you make a mistake, which I know we probably should check it, but it's hard sometimes. It's
very
just a little,
occasionally,
yeah,
it's
little
not. There
glitch.
might be a little glitch in there, and you have to redo it. And you know, if you're paying like 100 to 150 liras each time you buy internet, which is sort of 20 to 30 Australian dollars.
You're not getting many.
You're not getting a lot of videos with that, so it's frustrating. So it wouldn't be so bad if our internet in the apartment could handle the workload, but it just can't. So anyway,
So Bonnie said, I missed the first part of the vlog. What are you all drinking? A good hard lemonade would hit the spot right now. And then very kindly says, Michelle's got lemonade and Steve's got a Vermonti beer.
Vermonti beer for me, and Michelle has got beautiful old style lemonade. It's a Turku Laminata. It's a Turkish lemonade. Very nice, not overly sweet. Well, Mert says it's quite sweet, but I don't find it that sweet. Maybe we've got sweet teeth.
Maybe
sweet tooth.
But this is courtesy of Mert, because I didn't have this at the beginning of the stream, and he very kindly went out and bought it. And
we
knocked
had
on
an
the
empty
door.
bottle just beside
Just
Michelle
an
in the bin,
empty bottle.
because she'd finished it. She drinks like a fish. Lemonade, that is. And our neighbour Mert kindly rushed down to the shop, or bought one from his apartment. I'm not sure which. So she got fresh lemonade.
And Gloria Patry one says, yes, I love the live streams.
Good.
Ben said,
we'll definitely try and
Yes.
keep them at least one a week if we can. Remind me if I forget. So there are times when even we get a little bit sort of tired. You know, there are times when even we feel like we've probably run out of salts a little bit. So, and actually here has been probably that has happened more so than any other place, because we've been in the same few streets for such a long time. Now we can move around Turkey at the moment. People keep saying to me, "Oh, go here, go there. You know, travel here, travel there."
Earlier when they said, just forget it, just come down to Bodrum.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Now we've been invited.
I can't find it. What they said. Oh yes, here look.
Yeah, Senya, this is the guy. Thank you very much, mate. Said about coming down to Bodrum, but it's like Bodrum really appeals to me, and it's so kind. We were actually offered to come down and see you in Bodrum, and we really want to take you up on it. But there's other factors, like we're paying rent to be in this place at the moment, and we have to decide how long we're staying here for. But we also don't know when at the time we didn't know when we were going to be thrown out of Turkey, or if we were going to be thrown out of Turkey. And also, if we travel away from Istanbul, which is the easy airport to sort of exit from, there's a lot of really odd factors. And if we still had 3 months left on our visa, we would probably start doing more things in Turkey. So maybe the thing to do is just to get out of Turkey and come back in and start all over again. And that's a little bit the way we're feeling.
Yeah.
And then we can come down to Bodrum, and we could spend sort of a week, 10 days in Bodrum and just explore and have some fun. That would be the thing to do. But right now, with this limited amount of time we have here, we're talking, you know, less than a few weeks. It's hard to plan anything because it is.
So Paul says, I love the live streams too.
Thank you, Paul.
And Ben says, sadly, I don't think I'll be able to get back to Australia in September, as I hope Australian ministers don't think the borders can be reopened this year.
It's very odd, isn't it, Ben? Because I don't want to talk about the bits and pieces, the
Situation.
jigglypuff, you know. So I don't want to talk about it too much. But there is this hoo-ha in Australia, and Australia has such tiny numbers. It's unbelievable. But I can understand that everybody, the whole world is frightened at the moment, and somebody needs to sort of switch that off. So
Because that is another reason why we've considered Australia, but then if we go back to Australia, when can we leave again? So that's an issue. But we're not ready to go back to Australia just yet.
yeah, and also there was a few other places. People have suggested places that we should go in Turkey, and they've said,
Yeah. Is that what you saw?
yeah, Mert said, you know, Marmaris, Bodrum, Alachati, Marmaris, sorry, Bodrum. But they're not the places necessarily that people recall them to be. There's a lot of panic and a lot of things. But anyway, we'll work it out. We will work it out. Two strong things at the moment keep coming back in my mind. One is just to maybe go to Greece for a short time or even an extended time, come back into Turkey. Another is to just get out of this area altogether and do something really quite drastically different, and that's why I'm asking you for ideas. And the other is maybe something a little bit milder, like going somewhere not so far, like Germany, a country that would be, the weather would be really beautiful at the moment. So we're thinking about it.
So that answers your question, Ben, because you said I plan to leave Turkey within the next few weeks.
We have to, Ben. We've actually been told now that our visas are at the state where we have to be out within a certain date, and it's about 2 weeks from now.
So he says, I think you should do something drastically different, get out of the area, definitely.
Yeah, it's possible. You will see when we move from these lovely people. We've got such good neighbours, and that's the hard thing. You know, we've got.
Mert says, Ben, he loves this place.
Yeah.
We've had a good time here. It's hard sometimes. We get a bit settled. It's
around us now are some really lovely people, and then there's Mert as well. Mert is going to be featuring in some of my videos shortly, yes. And you'll see how rude he is to me.
Yes.
So but really we need to get out of this area now. We're sort of, there's too much baggage in this area for us. We need we need the rocket at the proverbial to wake things up.
So,
any questions?
Yes, come on, give us some
suggestions.
Suggestions. I'm not saying what you're saying, Mert.
Is he going to get banned?
No, he's just telling you all the things you'll miss.
They're in jokes and they will not do for our group, otherwise I will have to explain to everybody. Mert is actually pointing out some of the less gracious things that we have here. There are some real major issues where we've been staying at the moment as well, and we don't talk about them that often. We'll probably talk about them at a later date. But you might think everything is sort of like hunky-dory, snowdrops and roses and things, but it isn't necessarily. And but it's all quite laughable, really. It's nothing that major.
Okay, I don't know how to pronounce this name. I think you know how to do it, don't you? But I think I always say it wrong, so I'll let you tell me.
Yeah, Senyet.
Senyet.
I think it's Senyet or Chenet. Chenyet.
So it says, all right, there's a new beer brewed in Izmir. It's called Frederick. I think you should try it.
Oh, right. Interesting, man. I think it's Chenyet. Chenyet.
Chenyet.
Because I think the C, doesn't your C have a little little marking underneath it? It doesn't seem to come up on here, but I've got a feeling it does.
Maybe.
And you can laugh at me and tell me how dreadfully I pronounce your Turkish names.
It's better than mine.
I know. So there's an interesting. That would be interesting. Yeah. What's
Okay,
the
so
beer
the
called?
C is pronounced as J.
Ah.
So Junyet. Maybe?
So like a J, like a Genyet.
So the beer's called Frederick from a new beer.
Your
brewed
name,
in
I've
Izmir.
seen. There's a famous guy has the same name, and I know when they pronounce it.
Okay, it's like June 8.
June 8. June 8.
June 8. Is that a bit better?
No, you're in trouble now. She'll ever refer
I'll be going,
to you June the 8th.
8.
June the 8th. 8th of June.
8th of June.
Oh dear. So that would be interesting. Is it like a microbrewery beer, or is it just one of the bigger brewers that are brewing something?
So Irish Council, I suggest you move closer to wherever home is. Ask yourself, if COVID phase 2 happens and if the world go to quad, where would you like to be?
If you're going to get banned, Irish Scout, start talking about that nonsense.
So Junyate says it's by Tubal.
Ah, right. Interesting. What's it called?
Frederick.
I've got a Tuborg. I bought today one that I didn't actually. I haven't tried before, but it's a filtered beer, similar to the Beaumonti. I'll like a Filtresi or Filtresis.
But it's exclusively made in Izmir, as far as I know.
Ah, okay, that'd be interesting.
Oh, interesting.
Izmir appeals to us.
Yes.
I used to know someone that lived in Izmir.
Did you?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm hoping he's moved away.
So it's yes, Frederick. Check it out.
We will check it out. My little beer off license down here's got very limited choice because he just supplies all the drunks in the street at the corner.
Well, you quite like that one, don't you?
Yeah, this one I do like, but he
Yeah.
doesn't have. There are other beers. I know there are a lot more variety. He's only got the big bottles, and he's only got sort of like about maybe 8 different flavors. 8 different flavors, and I know there's a lot more. I'd love to see if there was like a microbrewery industry over
That
here,
would be cool, wouldn't it? For
brewing
you?
some darker beers.
Yes.
Michelle's teetotal, so she doesn't drink beer or wine or any alcohol, so she's a cheap date. Although actually
and
saying
a designated driver.
And the designated driver, but actually it's not that cheap
No,
because Cokes and lemonades and orange juices cost almost as much as alcohol in most places nowadays. So that's a bit frustrating. So sometimes I leave her outside with.
And I said, have a bottle of water, and that can be expensive.
Yeah, and that can be expensive. And you know what it's like. But if you leave her outside, they usually put a little dog bowl outside of each of the bars now. I think if she gets thirsty, at least she's all right.
So Paul's asking, is there a micro distillery movement over there?
No, not that I've seen, Paul. And we have a great micro distillery industry in Australia, and I know you do it in the US as well. The UK has its own amazing, just some of the best beers in the world. Germany has an amazing selection of beers, but I don't know if there's any sort of. I don't think there's that sort of small microbrewery movement. Is anyone saying otherwise?
Gara Guzoo. Gara Guzoo?
Are you all right? You okay?
Well, that's what June 8 says. It's a microbrewery.
Oh, I thought you were having a fit.
I can't help it if they've got unusual sounding
So is that a microbrewery?
Yes.
Just copy and quick Google it, can you?
Can I Google it?
Would you please?
Yeah, I
Thank
can try.
you.
Can try. So where is that?
What about this camera angle? Is this slightly wider camera angle? Me sat here in my meditative pose,
Yeah.
my legs going to sleep. Okay.
But he's not looking like his legs
Everybody,
going to sleep.
close your eyes, relax, and listen for Michelle saying things really stupidly.
Shut up. So I'll just say where it is. Look, it's here somewhere.
It's a place, so maybe there's some breweries there.
Maybe. Yeah.
We were talking. I don't know if any of you out
that's
there.
below Izmir.
Okay. I don't know if any of you have busy minds. I have a very busy mind. My good friend Mert has a very busy mind, and some of you may also have you'll know what I mean. If you have a busy mind, if it's a mind that actually rarely ever sort of quietens itself. Michelle has a very unbusy mind.
That's why I'm so chilled. Ben says, I hope you've been meditating more, Steve. You've been more stressed since you've uploaded the actual video.
That's what I was going to say, Ben. It's actually meditation really does help. If you have that busy mind, it really does help. Another thing that helps a lot is not having coffee at sort of 2 o'clock in the morning, Mert. Too much caffeine can also be a real disaster for us that have a lot of noise going on up there, so to speak, and find it hard to switch it off.
There's a lot of noise on our streets, so.
Yes. So if any of you busy minds, if you have a busy mind, put the one up. If you have a not busy mind, if you like Michelle, put the 2 up. So if you like me and it's like bedlam up there, like I don't know if you remember that cartoon that used to have the little the numbskulls, I think they were the people that lived inside the mines,
yes,
and they used to
yes.
Like there was yeah. So if you're a 1, you're a busy mind person. Paul, you're a busy mind.
I saw that before me.
Stay that busy mind. Any 2s? Any 1s or 2s?
No, just Paul.
Everybody else there going, I got to press the 2, but I can't find it on the keyboard.
Rena's a 1. Irish Celts a 2. Moon over Miami, that's me, busy mind. You got to put 1 Moon over Miami.
Did she put 2?
No, she put that's me, busy mind.
Moms, it's one for busy mind. Problem is you weren't thinking about it. You were already, like me, thinking about something else. So who's?
So Paul's a 1.
Paul's a 1.
Rena's a 1. Irish Celts a 2. Moon over Miami's a 1.
Lucky Irish Celt.
Bonnie's a 1. Ben says, are you taking the mickey out of me? And the Irish Celt says, EFT tapping helps to quiet the mind.
Okay, a little bit of EFT tapping now. Come on, everybody.
All you 1s. Bonnie's a 1.
Irish Celt, come on. Tap away the thoughts. Tapping.
No, Irish Celts are 2.
Who said tapping?
Irish Celt, but he's a 2.
Tapping here now, Irish Celt, tapping here. The problem is, okay, I have a good friend, Michael Hetherington, lovely guy, does tapping. He's a great tapper, but while he's tapping, telling me to stop thinking about stuff, all I can think about is, why is he bloody well tapping all over the place? And I'm thinking, oh, what's that song in the background? I saw that, and that's so much going on. Anyway, tap away.
So Phil and Jolyn is 1, too busy. Everyone's a 1.
I do think people who...
It's just me and the Irish Celt are 2, see? Brilliant.
There you go. I do think people that can tap themselves into sort of a point of being very... And tapping, if you haven't heard about it, is a sort of almost like walk meditating or something. You're tapping acupressure points on your body to look a little bit stupid, really. It's a bit like laughing yoga or goat yoga. Do you remember goat yoga? Yeah. Michelle and I were in Canberra during Christmas before last.
When nobody else was there.
Nobody else was there because everybody leaves Canberra.
All left.
And we'd gone down to see the Christmas lights, and instead we were greeted by a bunch of people doing goat yoga. And I don't know if you've heard about goat yoga, but what it is, surprisingly, because a lot of you will have thought it's something very, very unusual, but it's actually doing yoga with goats. So nothing really that special.
So they were out in the park.
So they're all sat there like this, trying to do bending themselves into funny sort of ways. Sat in goat droppings. It looked like there were goat droppings all over the place. Yeah. It looked like somebody dropped about 7 bags of coffee beans all over the ground. So there's goat droppings everywhere. They're all sat around. There's goats wee. There's one taking a wee, and somebody's trying to do the, one of the poses like this, and there's a goat next to them, and it's sort of like there's this gush. You know how goats, when they go to the toilet, they're not the most gamely. and it was kind of interesting at first because there was a lot of young goats there. I thought they were just kidding.
Ben said he saw goat yoga in Cairns. It was the most hilarious thing I've ever seen.
It's nice, but it's a lot of sort of soy latte drinking
People.
woke people sort of sat holding little baby goat. Now I know if you've done goat yoga, by the way, please forgive me, but it basically is doing yoga with goats. And apparently, many centuries ago, when Chaldi first discovered coffee in Ethiopia, many centuries ago, when he also used to do quite a bit of yoga, and this was forgotten in the rush to sort of get coffee into the Chibo and the supermarkets around the world. They forgot that he was also famous for doing yoga with his goats, and now it's been discovered through some ancient scripts, and so people have taken up goat yoga.
Yeah, so the Irish Celt said EFT tapping is not like goat yoga; it's like goat tapping. and
I've got, if you Google Michael Hetherington, Hetherington, lovely guy, absolutely such a wonderful guy. He does, if you ever want to do a sort of retreats and just discover yourself, or basically tap the bejeez out of yourself all over the place, he's the most calming person you'll ever meet, and such a lovely guy.
I beat you, Ben.
What?
He said it might be easy if you just type it out for us, Michelle, and I'd already typed it out.
Yeah. Mike's great, and he has some retreats. I think he's still based up in Chiang Mai in Thailand.
Oh, I think he's stuck in Bali.
He's currently stuck in Bali, but I think his retreats, he does courses in there.
Chiang Mai.
And if you ever want to actually sort of just get away from it all, Michael is the guy to meet. You'll see he's a huge, great big tall guy. He's about 9'6", and just a lovely, very gentle guy. But he's very much into his sort of holistic healing and things, and yoga, and yeah. I don't know why I'm giving a shout out to Michael.
No, nice guy.
Nice guy.
So Ben says walking in the countryside, etc., can often help quieten your mind without much effort.
Absolutely, Ben. Yes.
He said it must have been cold in Canberra. No, it wasn't cold. It was Christmas.
Christmas.
It was hot.
It's hot, Ben.
Hot.
Was that Ben?
Yes, it's very nice in Canberra, but nobody
It's very
else
hot,
was there.
but it's Christmas time. So because Canberra is the capital of Australia, and it's where all the government basically, of course, Christmas time they have 4 months off because it's Christmas.
Yeah.
The government take their usual
and
4 month.
Beginning of the kids' summer holidays.
Yeah. So everybody leaves Canberra. So
Christmas Eve we went down to see the Christmas lights being switched on, and there was nobody else there. We parked right in the centre of Canberra.
Well, it was busy. If it was busy in Canberra, if you count the goats. So by the way, it is our capital city, and I don't want to take the mickey out of it, but it is our capital city. The capital of Australia is Canberra, but it was quite quiet and a beautiful, beautiful city if you like countryside.
It's very nice, Canberra.
It is nice.
Yes, but yeah, you've got to have a reason for going there. So Rena says, I love to knead dough by hand, relaxes me. Nice hand massage and work.
Rena, Michelle will tell you that's one of my favourite things actually. You know, being in touch with your food in any way, and this is why I'm not anti-mixing machines, but you'll see in a lot of my videos, I almost begrudgingly use a stand mixer. Excuse me, the gassiness of the beer. Because I love to be able to I do think if you're making bread, that you will learn how bread feels. Learning how bread feels tells you when you're going wrong or right. If there's little tiny errors, like you've not added enough water because you made a mistake with the measurements, you can kind of tell straight away. But if you do it into a stand mixer, you won't notice it, and it's good to get your hands into bread.
So Paul's saying they don't get paid for 4 months off, do they? That's government.
Government? They get paid for 12 months off. You mean?
So Diana Sanchez, oh, she just says okay. I don't know what she's saying okay about.
Thank you, Diana. She's probably just telling us that the sound's working from earlier.
Perfect.
Thank you, Diana.
And
we're going to put up a 2.
and Jeanette says, I almost ended up moving to Tasmania once.
Jeanette.
Didn't do it though.
Oh, well, Tassie's a lovely place that we haven't been to yet.
It's on our list.
Tasmania is so close to home. We just never ever got across to it because we always end up going to warmer climes. But Tasmania is our sort of West Country, I guess you'd call it. I think you'd like that, Ben. I think most of you would like.
Ben just said it's on my list as well.
It's on my bucket list also.
Yes. Ben said I was going to go there after my initial visit back to Queensland.
Yeah, it's a very different world, Tasmania. It's closer to New Zealand, if any of you've ever been to New Zealand.
And a little bit, you've got to choose the right time of year to go.
Yeah, because it can be bloody miserable if the weather's not nice. It can be cold and wet.
And quite busy in the height of the summer.
Yeah.
Yes, he says if Australia actually opened their darn borders. Jill27 says, good evening, good morning, good afternoon, hi all.
Good day, Jill. Is that Jill with a J or Jill with a G?
Well, it's Jill with a G, so I said Jill. It could be Gil, but I would say Jill.
It'd be Jill.
Paul says, I actually found Steve because I was new to bread making and every video required a stand mixer, which I didn't have. Then I found Steve's Cuban bread video.
Oh, Cuban bread. We've talked about this before, Paul, but I mean, that's a proper bread recipe using, using lard in bread is as soon as you use anything unusual like lard, that perks my interest. So the Cuban bread is a great recipe, but I just think that most bread making should be done by hand. Now, and there are some exceptions. I'm not a great fan of getting super sticky with the dough and having to spend sort of hours getting off your hands and things. Although it can be quite pleasurable in a sort of childish way to get sort of a bit sticky and messy. But so with the very high hydration bread sometimes, or it's sometimes quite nice just to use like a dough hook or a fork to mix some of those, particularly overnight breads and things.
Marina says, I'm a proud bread mama. I just shared and passed along some of my starter. Yay.
Yes.
And all thanks to you, Steve, and your bread making series from Sicily.
Oh, beautiful.
And it is Jill with a J.
Jill with a J?
Yeah. It's pronounced with a J. Like somebody else I know.
It's Jill with a G, as in gin.
No, but it's pronounced with a J.
It's pronounced with a G.
Jill.
G. Jill.
And Jill says, flour on my hands drives me nuts. I use the stand mixer or gloves.
Oh, don't do that, Jill. Next time you look at my bread making recipes and look at some of the bread recipes there, just don't do what a lot of I watch a lot of shows and they sort of they make their life so difficult because they say, 250 grams of bread flour or, a pound of bread flour and 160 ounces or whatever of water. And then they straight away put their hands in and start going, and they come up looking like, the abominable snowman. They've got most of the bread is stuck to their hands and you've got to spend ages getting it off. Just start that mixture with a fork. You'll see on all my videos, start it with a fork. Just get it in there until it takes seconds. It takes sometimes less than 10 to 15 seconds just to start to bind the moisture in. And if you're using scales, by the way, which you should do when you're making bread, and you get the measurements right, you can put the whole water in, start mixing it through, and as soon as it starts to bind, you can get your hands in there, and it's such a minimal amount of stickiness. It just makes it more pleasurable to work with. Because if you come up looking like the abominable snowman, which so many channels do, and I see particularly on TV, you'll see people doing it, and they're going, "Oh, get your hands in there, don't worry about getting your hands in." And I know, and we all know, it takes hours. It takes such a long time to work that off your hands.
And they come back, and their hands are all clean.
Hey, they've got no hairs left on the back of their fingers. The nails are beautifully clean. The skin's beautifully. They've done a complete exfoliation in your fresh bread. Sorry, that's not fair to say, but it just doesn't make sense to make life difficult for yourself, and it can put a lot of young bread makers, if youngsters are getting into the bread making, because it's a pain getting the that very almost like wallpaper paste that you get when you start mixing it into your fingers and things. It can be hard anyway.
So Moon over Miami says, I don't eat bread much, but I find myself making it often just for the kneading need.
Michelle and I are trying not to eat bread, and yet every day this week we've eaten bread.
And Joel says, I give it another go. Once the dough is pliable, I'm good. Yes, always use the scale. Makes it so much better. Apparently, I'm a heavy scooper.
Right.
That is the thing, you see. You don't know, do you?
So, yes, so you'll end up with a very dry, if you go by your cup measurements, you'll end up with dry bread.
And Paul says, my problem is getting the bread to rise, working on it.
Frequently, if you've got your measurements right and it's not rising, there's often two things. It's your yeast is lost its potency, or your temperatures are not warm enough. And it is harder in cooler climes to if you've had problems making bread throughout the sort of winter and spring months, you start making that bread during these warmer summer months, and just watch how quickly that dough rises. It's such a pleasure in the warmer months.
But the thing is, in the colder months, if you turn your oven on and then turn it off, so it's nice and warm, and you can put your bread.
Yeah, but sometimes if you're in really cold climates, it's hard to get that warm.
It is.
And don't forget to don't be afraid to cover your bread while it's rising, to keep stop the moisture from escaping from the bread, because nothing worse than developing a sort of hard skin on the bread. And a great thing that I've used for a number of years now, maybe I don't show it in my videos so much, but rather than putting sort of plastic wrap over the top, which is a good thing to do, is to get those silicon mats, the big round silicon mats, and you can just sort of throw them over the top of the bread whilst it's rising. It traps in the warmth and it traps in the moisture, and it allows it also, as the bread rises and pushes the air out, it just sort of like it lets like little bread farts out the side of your bowl. So they're good. Where if you put the plastic wrap over it's quite nice to see, isn't it, when you've mixed it and your bread's risen beautifully, and the plastic wrap is sort of like a bass drum, like a big dome.
Yes. Ben liked your bread farts. Rena says, this is completely off topic. Put a pin in this and maybe you can answer another time. Looking for a drone to gift, and I have no idea about anything about them.
A drone to gift for... Can you just tell me roughly, Rena, who it's for? That would just help me quite a bit. If you can just tell me roughly who it's for.
And Jill says, great idea to use a silicone.
You don't have to be specific.
No, just
is it for a child or a nephew or someone that's a certain age or something?
So Jill said, great idea to use a silicone mat. Never thought of that.
Yeah, they're great. They become really useful, those silicone mats. They save wasting on cling wrap or plastic wrap, whatever you call it, wherever you are in the world. You can use them over and over again, and they work really well.
Yeah.
I mean, they're completely airtight a bowl. It can be the same even if you're mixing a pancake batter and you just want it to settle for a while, because even when you're making sort of pancake batter with buttermilk or something like that, it takes a while. If you want really good pancakes, let the batter bloom for a while. You can quite often we'll cover it with plastic wrap, but if you put you can get variable sized little silicone round mats, pop it on top of the jug or pop it on top of the bowl. It just allows it to settle without wasting plastic.
Yeah, we've done that. It's gone quiet.
Excuse me.
And it says Mustafa's making noise again. We can't hear him because we're having fun in here, man.
So, what time is it? How are we doing?
How are we doing?
Shall we go on a bit longer?
If you want. So let's get back to that one.
So, thank you for the suggestions so far. If anyone's just come in and maybe didn't hear earlier on, any suggestions for what we might do next? Not necessarily. You don't have to be you don't have to overthink it. We'll take a note of it and do some research.
So Ben says yes longer, and Mert says come over for coffee. I told you, Mert, not tonight. Coffee at 2 a.m. again. That's what Ben says.
Yes. No, I think we'll probably skip the coffee tonight, Mert.
He says green light.
Mert, by the way, who have you? Okay, let's get into sort of topics here. This is something that possibly many of you. We're going to talk a little bit about Aldi, Lidl, and a company called Chibo. Now, a lot of you may not know who Chibo are, but a lot of you will know that who Aldi or Lidl are. And you'll also know that when you go into Aldi or Lidl to buy some sort of vegetables, maybe a little bit of meat, you might come out with a satellite dish or an electric drill by what's the company called? Median electric drill, or a flat screen plasma TV. Well, Mert's just been back to Germany, of course, and he went into a coffee shop in Germany called Chibo. And Chibo is one of these amazing coffee shops that only the Germans could invent, that are like, it would be like if you have Starbucks, and I know Starbucks sell cups and bits and pieces, but if you went into Starbucks, and while you were queuing up, there's all alongside, there's a vacuum cleaner, maybe a hammer drill, maybe a set of step ladders, or perhaps even a little squirty bottle that has olive oil one side and lemon juice the other side, and if you dial the bottle left to right and you squeeze the trigger, it will put dressing straight onto your salad. Mert has bought one of these in his recent trip to Germany. And you can dial in the percentage of olive oil to lemon juice, or you can actually...
As Jill said, Aldi centre aisle is evil. Cool must have, didn't know you needed junk to buy.
Absolutely, and there are hundreds of houses all over the world full of crud that people buy in Aldi whilst they went to buy some potatoes, a little bit of salad, and a tin of beans, and you come back with a sort of jogging machine, maybe one of those satellite directional tuning pieces of equipment to make sure your satellite is pointing in the right direction, or any other number of things. Well, Mert went back to Germany, and Mert, you bought a lot of rubbish.
Yeah, he's laughing.
He went in and he bought some cool stuff, and I'm looking at. He showed me the other day what he bought. He did actually, and I'm going, well, this is good stuff. You know, this is the sort of stuff I would buy as well. I'm not berating him for it, because it's the sort of nonsense I would buy. But it is the stuff that none of us knew we needed. You know, absolutely none of us knew we needed. So he's got this actual bottle that's 50-50.
It gets your salad dressing just right.
Salad dressing just right, and typical of German Vorsprung durch Technik quality. Even when you put it down, it's got a rubber ring on the bottom that drops it down. He's got some garden lights for his garden, which he hasn't got, that light up in all sorts of different colours. He's got some small miniature disco lights, and he's got the most hilarious miniature vacuum cleaner I've ever seen in my life. And he only went in to get a box of Hanuta.
Anyway, Rena's answered you. She's wants to buy a drone for her significant other. The man has everything. I'd like to give him a super nice, challenging toy. $2 yet. Dollar signs, yes. So not too expensive, I think. I can't read that now.
Okay.
It's a bit more. I'm okay with paying at the mid range.
Okay.
Before investing more dollars.
Okay, Rena. I will. I'll be honest with you. Drones, cheap drones, often it's the same saying with everything in the world. Buy cheap, buy twice.
Well, she says here, last gifted him a mid-range metal detector. I'd like to give him a gift that isn't necessary but good quality.
Yeah. So, I wouldn't mind a metal detector, thanks. If he's not using it, Rena, you can send it to me. I've wanted one of those for a few years. Michelle won't let me have one.
It won't fit in the suitcase.
Anyway, buy cheap, buy twice. Yes. This is my motto. Buy better quality. You don't necessarily have to buy something ridiculously expensive, but definitely the Mavic range. Who makes Mavic? DJI Mavic um, drones are good. But the problem is at the moment is there are so many new regulations coming out with drones that if you buy anything too old school, too heavy, like the Mavic Pro Pluses, which are great drones, there's often quite a lot of restrictions for flying them. So what DJI and most of the drone companies are doing at the moment is they're keeping the weight of their drones below a pound or below 500 grams, 450.
Yeah. Something like that.
450 grams. Yeah. So anyway,
Pounds. Yeah.
The weight should be lower than 500 grams because now I don't know in the country you're in, but it does mean that if you look at the DJI Spark,
And so Irish Cat says DJI Mavic Mini.
or the Mavic Mini, which is the newest, the latest one, they're not too expensive. I mean, they're not cheap, but they're great drones. They really do what's written on the side of the box. But I would suggest go for the smaller size. It does mean that you can take them with you almost anywhere. We got the DJI Mavic Pro. Do you want to grab it? You got it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll show you. We'll talk about it.
And Mert says he needed his disco lights.
Mert did need his disco
He said
lights.
they gave you a nice ambience yesterday.
I will show you how compact the drones are getting. Keep it in there and I'll show you.
But I haven't got the control. You don't
So
want that?
Rena, this is our drone. Now this is a DJI Mavic Pro, and you can see, and this is a great drone. And I'd say if these are a bit cheaper now because this model is a generation older, and this is a fantastic little drone. It's quite compact, and it basically the wings sort of come out. The wings come out like this, and she's ready to fly. Now they do smaller versions of this. There's the Mavic Pro Mini, and there is this Spark. But I would say go with the DJI brand, because with DJI you get a drone that's super rock solid. It's got loads of support. There's lots of information about these drones out there. You can't go wrong with them. They're well built. They pretty much come with everything you need. The batteries are the battery sort of just sits on the top there. But each of the drones that have come out over the last sort of 3 years have got smaller and smaller and smaller. And now even this one is considered to be quite a big drone. And we can't fly this here in Turkey, for example, because it's over 500 grams. It's only about 680 grams, so it's not a lot over. But technically, that means we can't fly it here in Turkey. It also meant there have been other countries that we visited over the last 6 months where we can't fly it because it's a little bit too big. And if that isn't the rule in the US at the moment, it will be. It will eventually be, and that is why DJI have reduced the size of their drones down to under half a kilo or 450. What is half a kilo in pounds?
450.
No, that's a pound. 450 is.
Oh yes.
So it's about 16 ounces.
Yeah.
Anyway, look, I'm sorry I can't tell you. It has to be under 500 grams. So look at the smaller size. I wouldn't. If you've got no restrictions in the US at all, you can get these a lot cheaper now because people are often selling these.
Well, George just said DJI Mavic Minis are $400 on Amazon. Just looked.
Okay, so if they're $400 on Amazon, you can probably get them a little bit under that at sale times. Keep a lookout. Best Buys, places like that in the US.
Irish Cow says make sure to get the fly pack more with extra batteries.
Yes, and that's a good tip. Look when you're buying them to get the Fly More packs, because your significant other will actually appreciate having the extra battery if he decides to.
Because we've actually got 3 batteries for this.